Good morning, plant breeders and plant scientists from all over the world. Hey, this is David Benson with Cornhusker Hybrids in Lincoln, Nebraska, where our trademark and mantra is success starts with the seed. No truer words have ever been spoken in this business. Today, I'm excited to bring you the closure on the 7 deadly sins of plant breeding series with the disclosure of deadly sin number 1. Okay, deadly sin number 1 is failure to commercialize the right product. That will bring kind of like a death kill to your organization. It hurts you with your customers, it hurts you internally, and it probably costs you money. So commercializing the right product is, at the end of the day, is everyone's job, but a few people will make that decision. And why does the wrong product get commercialized instead of the right one? It is because of these grievous 7 deadly sins that build up and hurt your plant breeding program. So today we're going to just run briefly through those. I list them as from number 7 to number 1. And number 1 is the culmination of the failures of the other 6, or some combination of them. And just for a brief, very brief background, if you haven't been with me on this, is that I kind of adopted this from the 7 deadly sins or Christian vices or obstacles to living a good life in people's minds, which are lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, envy, wrath, and pride. So if you have these type of things, the equivalents of in plant breeding in your program, you're going to fail. So we're going to leave it at that. We're going to start. I'm just going to talk about how we get, what happens that we commercialize the wrong product or failure to commercialize the right product. Number 1, deadly plant breeding number 7 is failure to select the right germplasm. This will kill you from the get-go, because if you don't have the right germplasm to get the right product, it doesn't matter what else happens. And I'm not talking necessarily about quality of germplasm, but does it have the traits you need? Does it have the genetic variants you need? Do you know some things about some of the parents and grandparents that would, that you can capture in breeding values, or that you can use to make decisions about this germplasm? And there's a lot of this out there. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of germplasm characterized, and so on. But failure to select the right germplasm will cause you, it's going to hurt your program. You just can't overcome it. So you got to be there. Now, I have come to believe, and it took me a long time to figure this out, that if you don't have the right germplasm, it's hard to switch. And if you're working with germplasm that's just not good enough, that you're probably never going to get there. You're going to have other objections in your program, like developing breeding material or genetic diversity or some other things. But focus on the right traits and the best germplasm you can possibly get. And if you can't get it, get some good germplasm from somewhere else and infuse it. That's number 7. Failure to select the right germplasm. Number 6 is failure to discard inferior genotypes. And I can't tell you how important this is. You have to discard inferior genotypes. If you don't discard, which is 99.9% of your material in any given year, 4 years later it's going to be discarded. So discard early and just be ruthless. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Just move on and discard. It's the one thing people don't do enough of. That's deadly sin number 6. And you're wasting a lot of time and money grinding around stuff that's not good enough. Number 5, which is everybody's job. Plant breeding deadly sin number 5, failure to improve the accuracy of selection. You've got to improve the accuracy of selection. And when you take all the formulas and break them down, you've got to improve the amount of all the phenotypic variants and everything you see that is additive. Additive effects Additive effects are from alleles, not genes. You can improve on those in a breeding program. Failure to improve the accuracy of selection will absolutely destroy you because you have to. It has to be everybody's job. It should be on the job descriptions. Improve the accuracy of selection. A, B, C, and D. How am I going to do it? You know, how do we know if we've done it? How do we know if we haven't done it? But no one's doing that, but that's really what they are. Improving the accuracy of selection is everybody's job. From the number head research director to the guy down counting the seed in the packet or putting the bag in a tassel. All of it is to improve the accuracy of selection. You have to do it. Number 5, failure to do it, you're going to fail. You're going to commercialize the wrong product. Failure number 4, which I call the breeder's dilemma, and I am going to do another video on this, is failure to optimize the art and science of trait compromise. What I'm saying is the breeder's dilemma is how do you get your primary traits and still have enough of the secondary, tertiary, or even sleeper traits, the ones that you hardly ever see. And that you have to have them. But in my case, that happens to be brittle snap, breakage of the corn plant below the primary ear. There's no recovery by wind events. But we might see it every 4 years. Somewhere in Nebraska, you'll see it every year. But you might not see it 4 years. You might not see it 5 years. You might see it 3 years in a row. Sometimes it's moderate. Sometimes it'll wipe out a whole field, 80 to 100%. We have to know what that is. We have to assay it. We have to predict germplasm. And we have to compromise that in there, at least in part of our lineup, to serve our customers. So the breeder's dilemma is how to get the traits together. The better you are as an organization to know that the reasonable phenotypic value of these traits is going to determine how successful you are. So failure number 4, deadly sin number 4, is the breeder's dilemma, trait compromise. I'm going to do a video on it because people are missing it. Failure number 3, you're in a research organization, ever you are, or I run my own company. At the end of the year, I get some small number of experiments, data, and it's some pile. It may be this big. Maybe in a big company, it's this big. But every single person, and not the whole organization, has worked the whole year to get those few sheets of paper with means, variances, breeding values, and etc. on the genotypes that matter in the whole company. Every data point's got to count. And I guarantee you, I have failed miserably to make every data point account in my life. And I'm working a lot. I try. I'm by myself. I can't afford to make very many mistakes. But you've got to get data, and you just have to. And it's got to be good. The quality's got to be good. And, you can't lose data to missing plots. You can't lose data to mechanical failures in the field. Have cost me more data in my career than anything did. Some of it was self-inflicted, where a 2-plot combine was mixing plots or something, or as simple, and some of it was not self-inflicted, where somebody's 90-foot sprayer got in the wrong field and went right down my plots. And in one case, I even had my own cooperator take 6 rows right out of the middle of my plots, all the way through the field. Then you wonder how that hurt anything. Well, we all know, right? Make every data point count. Everybody's job is to improve the accuracy of selection. And one of the best ways to improve the accuracy of selection is to make every data point count. Now, we've got 5 sins here. Deadly sin number 2 results from these 5 sins. If you have a number of them or all of them, you're going to failure to rank the genotypes correctly, or ranking the genotypes wrong or incorrectly is deadly sin number 2. It's going to kill you because it leads directly into deadly sin number 1, which is failure to commercialize the right product. So at the end of the day, everyone runs their program to advance the best products and the right products. And we've all had failures. I've sat in some terrible failures. I mean, geez, I was in Pioneer, and I remember hybrid advancement meetings like they were yesterday sometimes. And one, probably around 2000, 2001 or something, everybody, at the end of the day, they thought we'd done such a good job, and we had one particular hybrid that one person even said, this is an all-world hybrid. It works everywhere. And our data did say it worked everywhere. But guess what? Well, the next year it was just kind of average. It never really distinguished itself anywhere, and you know what? It just really never took off. Now, one thing for sure, when you advance products, most of your data on most any product is going to come in the last year or two of evaluation, maybe the last year. That's where you're really, because that's when it's in the most locations, has the most comparisons, the most data, and everything else. But it's a reflection of the environment that year. And so G by Y at the end of the day is kind of intermixed in all these sins as you move forward and you come to commercialize the products. And every year, everyone does that. Every year, people plant new products. Every year, people commercialize new products. It's just the way it works. That's what your customers expect. That's, how the system works. It's how we improve the rate of genetic gain and so forth. So, if you commit the deadly sins, failure to make the data count, the breeder's dilemma on trait compromise, you don't improve the accuracy of selection, you don't discard the inferior genotypes, and you're not working the right germplasm, you are going to not rank the genotypes correctly, and based on that, you're going to use that data to commercialize the wrong product. So that's what can happen. Now, there's also big success stories too when these things work, but you have to realize these things are working against you. They're indigenous. They're there. So just eliminate as many of these sins as you can, and try to run your system where everybody understands they got to improve the accuracy of selection and make every data point count, and you will commercialize the right product. So this is David Benson with Cornhusker Hybrids in Lincoln, Nebraska, saying that we are harvesting here now. Our crops are down. The U.S. corn and soybean crop is down from last year, 3 to 5%, and short crops have a way of getting shorter. I understand the European crop in places is severely hurt, and we know of a lot of the other things going on. So we all need to keep improving the rate of genetic gain and commercializing the right product in our organization. So success starts with the seed. I will talk to you all next week.